It's time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. We begin this morning with This Day newspaper, our sister publication, leading with the fuel menace happening in the country. Adulterated fuel. NNPC GMD Kyari names MRS, Emadeb-Consortium, Oando, Duke Oil as culprits. Explains why inspectors did not detect bad petrol before circulation. The National Oil Company requests emergency supply. While the NMDPRA says the nation has 10-day reserve deficit, announces arrival of 300 million litres of fuel. Meanwhile, the federal government orders investigation. The leading picture on This Day this morning, caption, oil on their minds, with the technical advisor downstream to the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and also the chairman, National Gas Expansion Program, during a courtesy visit by Bakra and his team to Silva in Abuja yesterday. Other headlines on This Day newspaper, NNPC rakes in 2.613 trillion naira from petrol sales in 1 year. PNID, court revives Nigeria's bid in $10 billion award feud. And above the nameplate of This Day this morning, 2022 committee mobilizing Nigerians for quality leadership, building consensus for country's rebirth. And Femi Adesina says Africa's GDP declined by $165 billion in 2020, the lowest in 20 years, he says.
Well, here's the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, also leading with the federal government probing of adulterated fuel imports. Says no need for panic buying as FEC okays 13 billion naira contracts for aviation, petroleum ministries. Now, airlines are raising alarm as aviation fuel now sells for over 400 naira per litre. And that's a story from the Nigerian Tribune. Well, some other stories here. It's a busy front page. Let's pick some. The Oyo government seals IBEDC Ibadan offices over 400 million naira tax debt. Guess what? IBEDC response says government is owing them 450 million naira. Oyo APC crisis deepens. The stakeholders reject Omodewu as chairman, vow to challenge imposition in court. This and many more you can find in a copy of the Tribune.
It's the Nation newspaper now. Silver government will unravel how toxic petrol was imported. AFDB laments drop of Africa's GDP by $165 billion in 2020. Minister accuses the academic staff union of universities of blackmail. And finally, Oyo government IBEDC clash over 850 million naira debts.
And moving on to the Punch newspaper this morning. Also leading with adulterated fuel, marketers fear court cases. Federal government hints at compensation for damaged vehicles. Customers having problems with fuel suing outlets arresting owners. And 300 million litres arrive in Lagos as NNPC assures customers of 20-day supply. The leading picture here on the Punch newspaper, scenes of the ongoing demonstrations against COVID-19 vaccine mandates implemented by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Ottawa yesterday.
A look at the foreign papers, beginning with the Eye. At least 50 people are expected to be contacted in the coming days by the Metropolitan Police officers investigating parties in Downing Street during lockdown, says Johnson, and about 50 staff are to be questioned.
The international papers, The Times, PM among 50 set to be questioned by police.
And for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us from our offsite studio this morning. Emmanuel, good morning. Good to see you this morning. And thanks for joining us. Let's begin with This Day newspaper and the topic that's on all the front pages of the national dailies. The question of adulterated fuel. The NNPC GMD has explained why the inspectors did not detect the bad petrol before circulation. He also named some culprits: MRS, Emadeb-Consortium, Oando, and Duke Oil. And the Punch is saying that marketers are fearing court cases while the federal government is hinting on some compensations. Are we expecting other outcomes as well? Are we going to see anybody losing their job? Will the National Assembly be inviting or summoning the Minister of Petroleum? What are your thoughts on this, Emmanuel?
Well, it's a good thing that at least we see some form of responsibility from the NNPC, you know, and because but passing the buck will not stay actually, bring closure to this. This needs to be seriously investigated. Of course, the naming and shaming is good, you know, naming the culprits, though some of them already challenging that and saying that it's not their fault, also trying to look for who to pass the blame to. So there's enough blame to, you know, to share, but you're right. We need to have some form of, some form of further probing of this. And in fact, someone need to lose his job or her job, or some people need to be sanctioned heavily. How did this happen? The NNPC head himself saying that this was dictated in January. I don't think that is very satisfactory as in defense. You dictated this earlier. So what did you do? Of course, they came up with the other excuse that, well, it's because we were checking the adulterated fuel that you had, shortages in supply and all that. It's just terrible. I mean, I can't remember in my lifetime when we have this kind of situation. So it shows that, again, someone somewhere was cutting corners and allowing adulterated fuel into the system, into the bloodstream of the country itself. And that's dangerous. That's something to be watched, because if it happened now, it can happen again. So, but it's good to see some form of responsibility, some form of taking charge by the NNPC that is trying to actually, be a private company, so to speak. But starting off with this kind of crisis is something that I'm sure, like the NNPC boss is saying, is very regrettable. It's a trying time for himself and his company, and that something needs to be done. Yes, some compensation are being considered. People have lost a whole lot of vehicles damaged and all of that. In a very serious country, those kind of compensation should be pushed for, and people actually, the culprits that have been mentioned, should be sanctioned. So we should stay with the story ourselves in the newsroom to see whether this will not be, thrown under the carpet and the investigation stop. We need to stay on the story again and again and see where this is heading.
Well, above the nameplate for this day this morning, Emmanuel, 2022 committee mobilizing Nigerians for quality leadership. The other time they had a meeting in Abuja. Now they say they are building consensus for the country's rebirth. This is a space we should look at, Emmanuel, isn't it? This committee, what is their end goal, really?
Well, the goals are stated, but most importantly, you see the assemblage, the kind of people that have been assembled in the 2022 committee. One of the first bold moves, in fact, of its kind, to have businessmen, to have the private sector, to have other people, other than politicians, other people just talking about power and about elections and about, getting people into places of authority. But these are businessmen, this is civil society coming together and saying, let's chart a better course for our country. There's a saying that governance is too serious to be left for just those in government, and this is what is happening now. That push is very important, it's commendable. And already some funny people are trying to say, well, maybe the committee is trying to support a presidential candidate. They'll say, look, this is beyond we just supporting a president. We're not a political party. This is a committee of businessmen, serious-minded people who have made it in businesses, you've made it in other sectors, who are looking at this country as an enterprise, if possible, to see how we can tap into the potentials of this country for better leadership, because that's what you need now. And it's not as if all the time, unfortunately, politics is the vehicle you use to produce leadership. But these people are coming together outside the political realm. And some of them top politicians. You have former governors, you have serving governors on this committee, serious-minded people thinking of how to chart a leadership course for the country. It's the biggest thing right now that Nigeria needs, leadership. And for the last 8 years, a lot of people has questioned the quality of the leadership that we've had. We can't squander in the future and the next coming years on the altar of just, just getting a politician someone who is interested in just power to be there. This committee is looking at that and saying, look, we need to critique the quality of leadership, probably also set the tone and then, chart the course for how such a leader will emerge. Because we have serious problem right now. We need serious people, not just people that win elections by hook or crook, but people that will be voted in by the populace and we actually deliver. So this committee is very serious, it's very important, and their activities need to be beamed on again and again to see the kind of direction and the solution they are profiling to the problems that we have.
Well, that's going on, Emmanuel. In this day, the Bauchi governor has raised alarm over an unknown helicopter operating in the Lamebura forest. Not only is the government unable to protect citizens, it still doesn't know who's flying in its airspace, Emmanuel.
It's a disturbing story, and it's a good thing that this day actually brought it forward. I can't see it anywhere else, but it's an interesting story, and that everyone should be worried. The state government, the Bauchi state government sees this chopper making the round all the time in those forests. And there have been stories in the past of all sort of kind of flying, and these are not unidentified flying objects, not UFOs. These are real, aircraft that people see, running around the airspace. So who is in charge of the airspace? The military giving the governor some reassurance that they will do something about it, but it sounds so low to me, if you ask me. Something should be done. In a serious country, you can't have unidentified or planes that you don't know their sources just flying over thick forests, especially with the crisis of banditry and terrorism, insurgents in those parts. It's a very disturbing, troubling situation that the chopper is seen by the local populace. Seeing a chopper fly in the past, we've had stories of such aircraft dropping food, even money and arms to the insurgents. Is this the case? Well, the Bauchi state governor is asking, and he needs answer. I think all of us are waiting for the kind of answers and the kind of actions that will be taken to deal with those kind of situations.
Well, Emmanuel, quickly over to your favorite person, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He says in a fortnight, England will be abolishing all COVID-19 rules, including quarantine and isolation when one tests positive. Now, England is on a different course from other countries who are relaxing rules, but not quarantine rules. What are your thoughts? A very brave or very stupid decision?
Well, it's almost like a mixture of both, but this is a prime minister that is fighting for his job seriously, with more MPs, and then you have those inquiries going on. You have the police checking out people. So he's bound to do something, and I think maybe this is one of those red meats that is showing to the British populace and saying, look, we're taking out those restrictions that are not really very popular with the people, but scientists coming out to say that, look, let your decisions be based on science and not just the expediency of your survival as a politician. And so that's what both sides are weighing on. Scientists saying that it's too early and too risky to take those kind of decisions. And the facts out there does not support that this has gone. But Boris Johnson saying, look, let's get back to normal. We're tired. Already people can walk outside their homes, and now some of those other restrictions taken away. I don't think he's on the same page with scientists all around the world who still think that COVID is a serious crisis. But here is the Prime Minister who is probably doing everything to buy in some of support from his fans, and also to say that let's get back to normal. Everybody wants to get back to normal, but it has to be a decision based on science and not just some whims and caprices of politicians. And I think that is the crux of the matter here.